Good morning, and we are now in May, so it's hard to believe the months keep ticking on along. So May 2nd, great weekend this past weekend in a lot of ways in Pensacola. Had some great events going on. Certainly Crawfish Festival is always a great time. Also, I know there were multiple other events, and I did just talk with Mayor Fitch. I know they had a big celebration in Gulf Breeze. I told her I could see all their fireworks from, I was at an event at Bayview Community Center. I was being auctioned for a day with me as well as a day with Councilman Moore. He beat me by $50, but it was good, all for a good cause. Creative Learning Academy, so we certainly were happy to be there. But I told Mayor Fitch I got a chance to see her fireworks, so it looked like it was a great weekend in so many ways. Unfortunate, certainly, the tragedy that happened over the weekend. I think this is why when people ask, well, why do you do stuff here? Why does this happen there? Sometimes we can't keep up with the ingenuity of what people want to do, but it was certainly an unfortunate part, and that's why we ask you, any of our events, any of our parks, we ask you to use them appropriately the way they're designed, so that we don't have accidents like we did this weekend. But certainly aside from that, we had a lot of great things happening. I will say there was a couple things that happened last week that we did want to talk about briefly. One was Bright Bridges Ministry Shelter grand opening. It was good to see that moving forward. I think by the end of the week, first of next week, they should be beginning to have people come in. It was good to see what some of our money had gone towards and working to get it up and going. Also had a chance to meet with several of the new social workers they have there that will be case managing. I think that's a big part of what we're doing with our homeless. So I think that was another example of what we're doing, making a difference in the things that we're taking on. And again, I'm not saying we're the only community that's doing it, but I'm just simply saying there's a lot of things that we're out there leading on and trying to be a part of to make our community better. And certainly we were happy to be there with Bright Bridges. And by the way, last Thursday, they fully annexed into the city. So I think we had 3 annexations yesterday, so we're adding on to the city, so that was good. Lastly, we had a little bit of fun here. Got some emails from staff here. We were very happy that the governor was supportive of our request in vetoing the net metering. We sent a letter that makes, I think maybe I'm 2 for like 6 with letters for the governor when he does something I've asked him to do. But again, I think a lot of the credit goes out to Mark Jackson and his team. They continue to identify things that we're trying to lead on. This is just another example of what we communicated and sent to the governor as well. So we continue to work through those. This week, we got a bunch of stuff going on. It's going to be a busy week. The city is seeking applicants for the summer youth intern program. The city of Pensacola is offering internship opportunities for eligible youth from 16 to 24 through our summer youth intern program. Internships are available at a variety of city departments, and they promote career development while providing pay on the job work experience. Summer Youth Intern Program will run from Friday, June 3rd through Friday, July 29th. Applications are due by Friday, May 20th at 4 p.m. Visit cityofpensacola.com/intern to learn about the requirements and how to apply. And you moved on me. I saw Lawrence over here earlier. He's in the back. Lawrence Powell. This is our 3rd year of really kind of doing this on our own. So we're very excited and looking forward to it, and I'm sure we will have a number of applicants and youth here that will be learning and hopefully finding not only opportunities in building work skills, but hopefully maybe seeing that there's a career opportunity in the public sector. So we're always looking for good people, so we're excited about that. All right, nearly 200 trees planted so far. We talked about Arbor Day. We have replanted approximately 190 of the 300 trees as part of the City of Pensacola tree refurbishment plan with a goal of replacing the trees lost in city parks during Hurricane Sally. And I believe, well, Casey wrote 300. I think we've got 334, right, Adrian? That's what we're going to be doing. So I want to be sure we didn't lose some trees, but we are planting trees all over, and we have that goal. We saw several of them in Hitzman that had already been planted, so we're continuing to plant, and probably over the next couple of weeks we'll finish that up. So again, that's our goal. This plan is to help replenish the tree canopy for future generations. We're excited to see plan to move forward, and we're having the expertise of our new arborist, Chris Stoltz, to help ensure that we're successful in our plannings. Talking about also other greenery, the Garden Street Landscaping Revitalization Project update. The city is continuing improvements to Garden Street median as a part of the Garden Street Landscaping Revitalization Project. The landscaping project will be greatly improve aesthetics along Garden Street from A to Alkanies. The project began on March 14th, and work will continue this week with tree plantings and additional ground cover and shrubs. The project is expected to be completed by late summer 2022, weather permitting. Big thing also for getting outside, we are very excited to see the Pensacola Bay Bridge, soon to be named the Chappie James Bridge, will reopen pedestrian crossing. DOT announced on Friday the reopening of the Pensacola Bay Bridge multi-use path for bicycles and pedestrians. The path sustained significant damage, obviously, in Hurricane Sally. It's been closed since September of 2020. Construction continues on the westbound. That's the stretch going from Gulf Breeze to Pensacola. The entire project is currently estimated for completion later this year, and I was talking with Mayor Fitch about that as well. Very excited to have that back open. To go between our two communities. I walked it, I guess, in August of 2020, walked all the way across and back. It was a nice walk. It was a really nice amenity to have, and I hated it got knocked down about as soon as it got put up. So obviously right now there are, people keep asking, they're like, there's two areas in the bikes and the pedestrians. Eventually it's going to be pedestrians on one side going one direction, pedestrians and bikes, and you'll come back on the other. But we do ask for your patience until that other side can reopen or open up. Obviously both directions will be using the one connection at this point. So we ask you to work with it, bikes and pedestrians working together until we can get the next one open. So then we'll be able to have two-way going back and forth. So I think that was very exciting as well. Also today, talking about other activities that are happening, the Restore Project Watershed Open House is today. The City of Pensacola and Escambia County are seeking public input and comments on 15 proposed improvements to Carpenter's Creek and Bayou Tahar. The community is invited to attend the Restore the Watershed Project Open House on Monday, May 2nd, which is today, from 5:30 to 7:30 at the Bayview Community Center, 2000 East Lloyd Street. Since 2020, Escambia County has been working with a team of consultants to develop the Carpenter Creek and Bayou Tahar Watershed Plan. This is funded with Restore grant from the county, and the plan will provide a roadmap for improving water quality and fish and wildlife habitat, public access and recreation, and community resilience across the watershed. In fact, I know I talked last week to Jim about a project that's happening. Certainly, I think we're very excited. We had a chance to be briefed on that could take the whole stretch from really Davis Highway all the way to the mouth and restoring some of the natural way the creek functioned. That's really a great natural attenuation amenity that should help the creek, should help the health of water quality for Bayou Tahar. So again, so many things that are happening that I think can make a huge difference in that watershed. We hope you will go tonight to take some time to provide comments, and you can learn anything that's going on. So it'd be a good time to do that. Also, District 7 will be having a town hall meeting on June 8th. Councilman Delarian Wiggins and I will host a District 7 town hall meeting on Wednesday, June 8th at Sanders Beach Corinne Jones Resource Center, located at 913 South High Street, and we encourage everyone to attend, certainly across the city, but certainly those of you in District 7. We'll be very focused on things that are happening in District 7, and this is really part of a new effort to take these town halls and to partner with council people across there. I think it's better use of staff resources that we've seen. It gives people a chance to plan and be prepared. Our goal is hopefully to have one a month, and obviously, so we could have every district could have two. That means maybe a couple months we might have to double up, but the whole idea is that really each district should have the opportunity to have staff come out and on a known day and be able to explain what's happening in that district. And this is really the first of that new initial program. I'm looking forward to start with Councilman Wiggins, and I think it will really give our citizens a chance to better understand what's going on. And I appreciate the work staff did to create a new proposal that we can work together better and do that with Town Hall. So we're excited about that. Lastly tonight as well, I know Just Pensacola is having a housing event across the way at the Blue Wahoo Stadium. We expect to see Marcy here. We expect next week to be launching the initiatives we've been working on with housing. Part of those will partner with Baptist Hospital. Part of them are going to be things that we're already doing here. There's a number of different things that we want to do. So Marcy and her team have been working hard, and I'm excited to see what's going to come out. I think you're going to be, it's going to show some things that are going to be a little creative. We haven't done it necessarily before, but I think these are things that we need to do. And there are ways that we're showing we can help try to deal with the challenges with escalating housing costs. So again, it's not going to solve everything overnight. But I think we're going to be making a difference, and I think it has the opportunity to begin to create a better environment for our community, with certainly related to housing and finding ways to make sure that there's workforce, affordable, and attainable housing here in the city of Pensacola. So with that, I will open it up to your questions, and happy to answer anything that you might have. Jim, okay. I'll go ahead. Both of y'all were kind of going. You were on your phone.
Do you have any more information about the incident this weekend at Maritime Park?
I don't have it, other than the fact that I know that there was some kind of use of trying to do something in the pond with a car, and somehow it ended up the individual left the pond and came into the parking lot. And other than that, I really don't have a lot of details on it at this particular time. Other than that, I did get that Saturday night. I haven't had a chance to really sit down with Chief about it and talk about it. But it's just, again, one of those things that I don't think in a million years we ever anticipated that the pond would be used for something like that. And this is the reason we really ask you to use our parks appropriately. We got great parks; they're great things there, but there is an appropriate use, and unfortunately, I don't know, today's day and age, with all the things people film and put on everywhere, people are getting sometimes more creative with what they want to do. I used to tell my children all the time, something may seem really amazing or funny or something else, but don't do it, because later on, you could get seriously injured. It could be fatal. Just a variety of things. Don't do stuff like that. So that's all I know at this particular time. Yes.
Mayor, tomorrow over at Brownsville Community Center, the Sheriff Simmons and the State Attorney Madden are hosting a community discussion on the ongoing opioid crisis in our area. Will the city be represented? And two, what's your message to the community about the ongoing, the sheriff's words, opioid crisis?
We continue to work with the sheriff's office. I will say, Sheriff Chip Simmons, he had maybe been inaugurated less than a week, and I was over there at the time with acting chief Kevin Chrisman. We were over there, met with him. We began to establish a working group that began to look at different issues with drugs and a variety of other things. Certainly opioids is a part of that. We have put forward making sure that we get Narcan, and we're having that for our police officers and our fire department and anybody, first responders, that respond in case they respond to a case where somebody is dealing with opioids. I will say we were not, this must be an initiative that at this time is coming forward with Chip. We certainly would be happy to be there. I haven't talked to Chief to know whether he was going to be doing something with that. But I do know we are going to be, through the opioid lawsuits, we're going to be seeing a sizable amount of money come into Escambia County. That there's a group that's going to be there from Escambia and Santa Rosa. Escambia and the City of Pensacola for Escambia County's funding. It's going to be put together. We have people on that. In fact, I cannot remember, the council just at one of the last meetings just put somebody on there. I put former police chief John Mathis on it. So, certainly wanting somebody who has experience in dealing with that and dealing on the police side is my appointee onto that committee. They will look at how the funding is going to be then appropriated within the community to deal with a plan that will set up to help with the opioids. So it continues to be a crisis out there. I will say there is help on the way in funding. We hope that this is a civil situation, so I'm not sure what they're going to be discussing tonight, but I know we're looking at it on all fronts, both in trying to stop it and curtail it at the on the law enforcement wise, but also looking effectively at ways we can treat and help the individuals who are dealing with the addiction remove themselves from that. And I think that is the better long-term story, is how we get out of this, is trying to figure out what that. And there's going to be funding available, and we fully want to figure out ways that we can deal with the problem in the community.
Based on the data the city has from the chief of police, I suppose, is that a fair characterization? Ongoing crisis? What is the trend in opioid responses?
I know that we've had it's been continuing to go up. Now it circles. It does have dips and goes back up. But I mean, I would think my characterization in the past with Chief Randall is we continue to see it. It's one of the reasons we deployed Narcan both to our first responders all over, and while we felt it was important and necessary. It's unfortunate. It is something that continues to go on, and we're working as diligently as we can to create opportunities for people to seek treatment, to deal with it, that are dealing with it, and then also then to try to work through the way we can continue to address any of the illegal, buying and selling of certainly opioids as well. So we're working on both fronts, and I will tell you that it continues to be a challenge, but I don't think it's unique to Pensacola. I think it's continuing to have problems across the state and across the United States. Yes.
You said that the city obviously doesn't anticipate something like what happened Saturday happening. Are there any plans or any discussions about possibly like putting up any fencing around that point or anything like that since that incident happened?
Therein lies the challenge. I think the intention of what it was meant to be in the way it views and presents itself was not having fencing there, and I think the aesthetics of it is what it's meant to be and function as. We want it to continue to function as that. That was the way it was built. It's hard for me to say one thing or the other. I mean, the whole thing right after the storm in April, May of 2014, we talked about coming out of it. How do we build more retention, but do it in a way that's more aesthetically pleasing, creates interaction opportunity within our parks, and we want to do that. But clearly, these are one of the challenges that you run into. I don't think at this particular time it's going to be something that necessarily changes what we're going to do. But again, this is why we have to communicate to people, don't do things that aren't intended. The park was never intended for that. And when you do something that's not intended for, there's certainly the risk that you will have injury and potential fatality.
Another follow-up question about the park, but on a different issue. Yesterday there was an event at the park, and we got pictures this morning showing trash all over the park. Do people, when they get events, does the city come in and clean up, or how does that work?
Well, they should have a plan for cleanup. I mean, the good news is we knew there was an event coming on. We'd worked with the promoter of it. The good news, I did talk with Chief yesterday and got communication that the event went off without problem, without incidents, and so we were there and diligent on that. As far as the cleanup and what happens, I'll look to Adrian and his team, and if there are challenges that weren't there, I know we have. That's why we take deposits and other things, and it will impact the ability of that group to secure that for next year. So I mean, those are things we'll look at, and I haven't had a chance to talk with Parks and Recs. I did have a chance to talk to law enforcement. They were concerned that there may be issues related to it, but it came off without a problem. And from that standpoint, they had worked very diligently with the promoter. If we have problems with trash, we'll have to address those, and we'll make sure that we're as diligent about trash. I don't know if it was the expectation of what we have, but we had Seafood Festival. It all got cleaned up. So I mean, to do these events, you're going to come up with a level of trash, but we expect you to have a plan how to deal with that trash and get it taken care of. And our sanitation can be very much a part of that and work through that process. So I don't know what may have happened there, but we had Crawfish Festival and we didn't have a trash problem there. So we certainly can do it. And if we need to work with the promoter that did the event, we will work on that to make sure we don't have that problem next time. And anything that we had to do extra that wasn't planned for, that's why we take deposits. And I see Adrian shaking his head, and they may not be collected on their deposits. So we certainly will work, and I was not aware of that.
Yes, can I ask, did the city have to send out people to clean it up, or?
Adrian, do you want to come forward up here?
Sure.
Yeah, thanks for the inquiry. The mayor's correct. The deposit that when they fill out the event form to have an event here, part of that form is the vendor is responsible for cleanup, and the deposit is there if that is not taken care of. So as of this morning, it wasn't done. So right now our parks crew is over there cleaning that area up, and we'll be in close contact with the vendor in reference to any other events that he may be trying to have with our park.
My understanding, this was not the first event he'd done with us. This is the second. So I don't know. His future ones will be dependent upon his action in dealing with this. So that may impact what he can do going forward.
Mayor,
Yes.
Last week, City Council had a workshop or agenda review. They talked about the brim fishermen and the Dr. Caffrey's sampling of stormwater and bacteria in and around the tan yard, the Bruce Beach area. At the ECUA board meeting that followed that during the week, several of the board members raised the issue once again of daylighting Washerwoman's Creek. What are your thoughts about daylighting Washerwoman's Creek?
I don't. Washerwoman's Creek is certainly should be continuing to run, whether it runs underground or through there. One way or the other, it shouldn't be having sewer connected to it or sewer connections. So I think just opening it up, while it would certainly bring disinfected UV to the situation, I'm not sure that it would solve all of our problems. I think one, when you have a city that's this old, that has you have people develop things before you. As I was on a radio show this morning with Rick, I said this doesn't happen in Cordova Park and Scenic Heights because these are newer areas. When they set up the sewer and the stormwater, they separated them. Downtown, as this developed, back then it used to be. That's just the way it was, and so I think better the study is recognize probably areas that I saw out of it, and I've talked with David at length. I think we have about 4 or 5 areas where we know we can go with them now and pinpoint and go do some smoke testing and some other things and see where we have connections, and then find a way to terminate those connections. In fact, the radio station I was on today said, hey, the old restrooms at the old library, they didn't find out until they did last time, were actually connected straight to the storm sewer, so stormwater. So I think this is a problem that you have in older cities, and we'll work through that problem. How effective daylighting Washerwoman's Creek would be in solving that, I'm not sure. If you're still connected, if your sewer and your stormwater are connected, you're going to have problems, no matter whether you daylight the creek or you don't. I think it's really important for us to pinpoint those areas and then address those connections, because they shouldn't be happening. They don't happen in newer sections, and again, there's it's just a challenge sometimes of being in a city that has connections that go well over 100 years. old in this city, and it's just part of what happens when you have a place that's this old. So, regardless of whether it was daylighted or closed, we got to sever those connections. But, then it always comes down to cost. We've got several projects that we're trying to run in the downtown area that we think are important for what we want to do, but we don't have all the money to do hashtag. So picking up a new project could be challenging related to funding, but those are always things we'd be happy to sit down with them.
Right. When the first BP Restore priority list was developed, daylighting Washowomen's Creek was up in the top 3, I believe it was. This was the Citizens Advisory Group and the county's approval to get Triumph Gulf Coast and others involved with BP money to get that. This was 10 years ago nearly. Mm-hmm. And it fell off. It all of a sudden it went away. That whole priority list changed.
I remember when it came forward, I think the challenge was the amount of cost for the amount of benefit. I know for me personally, I think what can be done with the funding that we have for a fraction of the cost it was going to do to daylight, we could significantly change and improve what's happening on Carpenter's Creek. Case in point, what happened with the washout at Davis Highway, I was talking with Jim about. I mean, there's a plan that Wood has come up with that, I mean, it's a lot of money. It's in the tens of millions, but I mean, it's not a significant amount of money in the grand scheme of things, especially when there's a bunch of money that the state is sitting on with NERDA funding. I think the ability for us to see, more benefit out of what's going on with that and looking at Carpenter's Creek is probably higher than daylight and Washowomen's Creek. And again, if you have sewer stormwater connections, that's not going to solve it. So you still got to sever those connections, or else you just got sewer coming into your creek, which I don't think is what we want either. So whether we daylight it or not, we got to get rid of those connections. But at this particular time, I think the city has said we're trying to put all of our efforts into Carpenter's Creek and into Hollis T. Williams. Hollis T. Williams is another incredibly important project as this community goes forward. And from our standpoint, we think at least we're starting it at the south end, but we think the real work will be the stormwater that's done on the north end that could really help from both flood attenuation, but also creating those kind of amenities that would have a sort of a water amenity to the park and really create a park for all the communities that are there. It's a better connector for you to be able to get downtown from further north in the city and do it without worrying about cars and everything else. So I think those two projects are probably top on our list at this time. I'm not saying if there's money after those projects get done and we can do a third project, I think we can always look at that. But I think when it was chosen not to do it, had to do with a lot with what was going to be the benefit versus what was going to be the cost. And I would tell you that I think the cost benefit is much better at Hollis T. Williams and at Carpenter's Creek, and those are projects we are pursuing and we think are vital for what we want to do. Anything else? Well, thank you all very much for being here. Have a good week, and we'll look forward to seeing you next Monday.